on what's new.
This is, very encouraging, extremely promising early data.
As Ohio COVID cases keep climbing, good news about a possible vaccine. Could an end to this virus finally be in sight?
Plus, for a vaccine to be its best, it needs volunteers, the groups who are shying away from testing, and why scientists need them. And the secrets to saving success. Our consumer investigator shows us how one woman paid off thousands of dollars of credit card debt and cut her student loan in half in just months.
And the new you, why the answers to weight loss could be hidden in those nutrition labels. We tell you what to look for. What's new starts now.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
It's been an entire week straight that Ohio has had more than 4,000 new COVID-19 cases a day. And today, no different. 4,706 new cases. That continues to push the 21-day average higher and higher, now up to almost 3,400 a day.
Romney, our other key data points, positivity rate has clicked back over 10% again. We saw a huge spike in hospitalizations over the past day. They were up 235, meaning there are now more than 2,500 COVID-19 patients in Ohio hospitals. The sole declining data point was deaths. They were down from 11 yesterday to 7 in today's report. And with that, we say hello again, Northeast Ohio. I hope you enjoyed the gorgeous weather the past few days as much as I did. Thanks so much for choosing What's New. I'm Jay Crawford.
I'm Romney Smith. Betsy is off today. The COVID-19 pandemic is where we kind of have to start today, Jay. Governor DeWine spoke a couple hours ago about the alarming rise in hospitalizations. Our Laura Queso listened in to the governor today and joins us now in the newsroom. Laura.
Yeah, hi to both of you. Today we learned Ohio medical professionals are starting to really worry that those hospitalizations are going up and going to put too much stress on the system. Here's the thing. Everyone is starting to feel the struggle in our state. Doctors say our previous waves during the spring and summer months were much smaller, and we were able to avoid overwhelming our hospitals by pulling together to reduce spread. But right now, we are dealing with record numbers daily. Romney was talking about it. I mean, in some cities, doctors are seeing a growth in hospital cases that's doubling every 21 days. Another doctor, Dr. Robert Wiley of the Cleveland Clinic, spoke today. He said another problem that we're seeing, our healthcare workers are getting sick.
In the intensive care unit, we're using about 13 or 14% of the beds. And with, again, total ICU use of about 70 to 75%. But what we're seeing is we're getting a lot of our caregivers who are coming down with COVID. We have over 300 out at the Cleveland Clinic alone today. So everybody's having staffing challenges. And it's not because they're catching COVID in the hospital. What we're seeing is they're catching it in the community.
Now, doctors agree that we are better prepared with the personal protective equipment and physical capacity, and we do know more than we knew back in the spring. However, we are seeing an increasing demand on our staffing, and every single county in this state is feeling it.
Certainly something to pay attention to, and I think we all can say that it's equal that everyone wants our numbers to start going down instead of up. Thanks, Laura.
Sure.
Well, there is some good news on the coronavirus front, and it had everyone buzzing today, including Wall Street. Drug maker Pfizer reporting its vaccine for the coronavirus has so far been 90% effective in preventing the spread of COVID in its final phase of trials.
So, of course, we had to loop in our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins. She joins us live. Monica, this seems like a huge game changer.
Oh, yeah, guys, this is huge news. In 2 weeks, Pfizer will submit 2 months of safety data to the FDA with a request for emergency use authorization to get their vaccine to market at least by December at the earliest. And while this is all great news, it doesn't mean an end to COVID-19. You're going to need to keep your mask. You're going to have to social distance for the next several months. The Pfizer vaccine, being studied at university hospitals, has had no indication of adverse reactions. That's important. But unless people get the vaccine, we won't be able to get COVID under control.
Is not a virus that we're injecting in you. It's not. There are no virus. It's not infectious. It's not going to give you COVID. This was not something quick that cut corner. It's really well studied and so far extremely safe. But this means nothing if people don't get it. So please, for the sake of everybody in the world, we need to get that vaccine.
Yeah, Pfizer already has enough doses for about 15 million people. Those at high risk, of course, will get it first. And while this is some of the best news we've heard during this pandemic, there are some things we won't know for several months. For instance, how long vaccine immunity will last and how many people need to get this vaccine to get the virus to settle down. And tonight at 6, I'll give you a deeper dive on how they know this vaccine is 90% effective and if it will remain that way, Jay.
Monica, we've been talking about this going all the way back to March, really, on when we might see a vaccine. If you could put into context for our viewers exactly what this time frame means. I remember early on, you were telling us, much to our dismay, look, vaccines oftentimes take years. This is about 9 months, 10 months out.
10 months, exactly. And I got to tell you, Jay, by next year, we're going to probably have about 10 different vaccines to choose from. This is unprecedented. And I said to you earlier, one of the reasons is because pretty much every researcher who has any game in the plan has been thinking about this and working on this. And researchers know they can save lives. And the best part about COVID, believe it or not, is the efficacy and the speed that they managed to get this drug, through the process and into safety checks will also help us in the future for future therapies. So we are learning something from COVID. But again, a lot of people have that, not sure they want to do this. Well, I can tell you that all the senior level staff at university hospitals did take part in that Pfizer vaccine. They're at the heart of this research. So if they didn't think it was safe, that should give the rest of us indication that maybe it's time we take some serious thought about whether or not we should get this vaccine. Because really, if people don't get it, we're back to square one. Nothing's going to happen. Yeah,
I'm glad you said that. These are some of the brightest minds in medicine. If they're willing to take it, odds are they feel it's safe enough for all of us. And obviously, it still has to clear the final hurdle of trials. But this is certainly good news. Right. And I think everybody had a little extra bounce in their step today and an easier smile, because for the first time, it really does seem like that's a light coming from the other end of that tunnel.
I haven't seen infectious disease docs giddy like I have today. And that was, considering everything we've gone through, that was just a breath of fresh air.
Color me giddy. I'm right there with them. Monica Robbins, always great information. Thanks, and we'll see you at 6.
Sure.
So we're going to continue talking about that. The key to vaccinating the population is making sure that you have a vaccine that works for the entire population. Historically, pharmaceutical companies have had some pretty big problems getting minorities to participate, and this time, no different. Our Brandon Simmons explains how local doctors are working to change that.
People of color have always been underrepresented in most clinical trials.
With a vaccine now closer to reality, there's still a push to make sure minorities aren't left behind. Dr. Carla Harwell is medical director at University Hospital's Otis Moss Jr. Health Center in Cleveland's mostly black Fairfax neighborhood. And she knows firsthand how difficult it is to convince minorities to participate in vaccine trials.
A lot of that is rooted in fear and mistrust of the system, is rooted in prior studies that were held by the government, such as the Tuskegee syphilis experiment.
That study went on for decades, back in the 1930s, harming blacks in the process without ever delivering them promised treatments. Dr. Margaret Larkins Pettigrew remembers it well, but she still felt it was important to participate in the Pfizer vaccine trial along with her husband.
As a physician, I realize, and I know for a fact, that there are so many things that have been implemented so that things like that don't happen anymore.
And now, more than ever, she and other physicians are encouraging minorities to make sure they're not left out of the vaccine development process.
Listen, this is something that we all need to participate in, not just this studies, but multiple studies that have really not included African Americans and people of color for so many years.
Pfizer, too, recognizes the health disparities, specifically targeting the underrepresented in PSAs.
People from all backgrounds are needed in clinical research, especially our black communities.
Hoping to bridge the healthcare gap as lives depend on it.
It kind of only makes sense, that we would want to know that this vaccine would work in us.
Now, there's still time for many of us to be part of these vaccine trials. You just have to go to clinicaltrials.gov for more info. And both of these experts also said even after the trial periods end, it's even more important for us minorities to actually go get the vaccine along with everyone else, Romney.
Absolutely, Brandon. We have reported on how COVID has hit minority communities a little bit harder, and so that's definitely an important fact to bring up. Thank you so much.
It is 8 minutes past the top of the hour. Time to check in with our good friend Russ Mitchell, who's tracking some of the day's other top headlines. Russ, hello to you. President Trump making some major moves today.
Good afternoon, Jay. That's right. President Trump has fired his fourth Secretary of Defense. The outgoing president tweeted today that Secretary Mark Esper was terminated and will be replaced by Christopher Miller, who is director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Esper and the president have long been at odds, the latest rifts coming last summer when Esper pushed back against the president's calls to deploy troops to quash protests. The family of a 22-month-old girl who died in foster care has filed a lawsuit against the Cuyahoga County Division of Children and Family Services. Mandisa Sizemore was allegedly left unattended when she choked to death in the care of a foster mother in June. In the lawsuit, the family is calling for a complete overhaul of the agency and wants changes made in how kids are cared for, as well as when parents are notified when an incident happens. And a hopeful day on Wall Street for movie giant AMC Theaters as shares surged following that Pfizer vaccine breakthrough news. The nation's largest movie chain saw a 50% spike in shares today. Of course, movie theaters across the country have been struggling to stay afloat during the pandemic. And Jay, when was the last time you went to a movie?
Almost a year. I was talking about that just the other day. And when I heard that news today about AMC, I thought of you because I know how much you enjoyed the theater experience. That has to be nice news for you.
I love movies. I went to see Tenet in July, and the theater was very clean. But you're right, I missed the theater experience, but hopefully we're on the right track here. Some movie theaters are open, and not a lot of new material out there.
Exactly.
Some movie theaters are open.
Russ, thank you very much. We'll see you at the bottom of the hour.
See ya.
Next on What's New, if your bank account took a beating during the COVID pandemic, we have some tips to help get you back on sound financial footing. That's next.
And later, the heartfelt tributes to Alex Trebek from fellow game show legends Pat Sajak and Vanna White.
And Jason Fraser is in for Matt Wintz today. Jason, outside enjoying what looks like and feels like a June sunset. Is it really November, Jason?
I had to actually check my iPhone earlier today to make sure that it actually was still November. But you know what? As we take a live look over downtown Cleveland via our CSU cam, you'll notice there that there was that beautiful sunset. And you know what? I'm all lit up in sunset colors. How long is this beautiful weather going to last? I'll let you know when What's New returns.
Welcome back to What's New. 10 months ago, when the pandemic began, no one could have guessed the financial toll that the virus was to have on so many Americans. But on this Money Monday, we have some tips that might help.
That's right. We all thought it was just going to be 2 weeks at one point. Well, if you have any income at all coming in, there are still ways that you can save. Consumer investigator Danielle Serino introduces us to a single mom who learned to turn her finances around by simply reading a book.
COVID's left about 30 million of us unemployed or underemployed. Nearly a quarter of all homes say they don't have enough to eat. Bridget Lang could have been one of them.
A lot of times I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul.
But 9 months after that interview, she's in one of the best financial places of her life.
I've more than tripled my saving, if not better, and I upped what I put into my 401k.
Keeping her job as a paralegal during the pandemic helped, but her saving success took work, especially when living paycheck to paycheck. So we put her on the 30-day money cleanse, a program to get your finances under control.
Like the big win of it is we have a plan to reach our goals, spend on the things that we love, so it doesn't have to be restrictive, but we're spending so much less because we're not spending on all the other things that weren't important.
Ashley claims you'll save 20% of your pre-tax income in 1 month.
The money journal is a great tool. Writing things down every time we spend, we don't actually realize we're paying so much of the time.
And just by doing that, Bridget was on a roll. Since February, she paid off nearly $2,000 in credit card debt and cut her student loan in half, making just small changes.
I started sounding like my parents when it came to like heat, electricity, and air conditioning. I started paying attention to what it was on and how much it was working, like, no. So I promise if you're going to come to my house in the wintertime, you better wear a sweatshirt.
She stopped grabbing food and drinks on the go, began shopping at discount grocer Aldi, and planned ahead for meals.
I cut back on my groceries more than I ever expected I could. Not necessarily because we're eating less. When I started planning things out, I didn't need as much, and I'm not wasting nearly as much anymore either.
There are people out there that I'm living paycheck to paycheck. How
Right.
the hell am I going to do this? And your advice to them would be what?
Write down what you're spending. Put it all down and put it on a piece of paper in front of your face so that you get the idea. And then start figuring out where you can start to cut back. You'll be amazed at how much you can save in just 1 week.
I compiled a list of where you can get free financial counseling, as well as where you can get the 30-day money cleanse. It's all on our website, WKYC.com. I'm Danielle Serino, 3 News.
All right. It's time for weather now, and Jason Fraser is in for Matt Wintz.
Jason, yesterday I mowed the lawn, and then I spent 4 hours putting up Christmas lights. And the last time I did both on the same day, I lived in Tampa, Florida.
Ooh.
Wow.
Woo. And that was back in what, 1960 what? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Oh, I'm totally joking.
It was 1998.
But you know what, Jay? You were open up. You were 1998. Okay. All right. Well, hey, listen, you left yourself open for
I
that.
did. I did.
And you know what? You're not the only one that's been doing gardening. We've been here at the Cleveland City Hall, and I don't know if you guys might be able to hear, they're actually doing some gardening right now. And, speaking of today, it was a beautiful one. We had clear skies, and we actually shattered a record today. So I want to show you this graphic here. 76 degrees. That's what it was at about 2 o'clock this afternoon at Hopkins. So we broke a 45-year record. Yes! I know, I'm excited. Of course. I'm probably the only one that's that excited about breaking a record. Temps right now across the region, well, we're pretty comfortable right now. We are still here in the 70s in downtown Cleveland. We're checking in at 74 degrees. It's 70 over in Ravenna. A little bit cooler at inland communities like Worcester as well as Millersburg. They are in the 60s. So the big question that I've been getting is, why has it been so warm? Well, we've had a southerly flow of air. We've also had high pressure and control over the last couple of days. And because we are on the back edge of that, that means that high pressure is pushing all of that hot air across our region. And also because of the jet stream. As you know, jet stream, that is the dividing line between very cold air and very warm air. So over the next 24 hours, we will continue to see very warm air. But look at what happens to that jet stream. Yep, it starts shifting downwards. So we are going to start to see some cooler air across Northeast Ohio. One of the things that we are also tracking right now is Tropical Storm Eta. It is right now just south of Key West, and it has sustained winds at about 50 miles per hour. And over the next couple of days, we anticipate it staying out to sea. What happens after Wednesday, while the models still are not in agreement, we do think at some point this storm is going to make landfall once again. National Design Mode hour-by-hour forecast closer to home here. We are going to see additional rain showers that are going to be coming in. It'll likely happen for us sometime tomorrow night into Wednesday. It's not going to be a washout for us on Wednesday. I do think the rain will end up becoming clear, and then, I should say, the rain will likely come in the morning, and then will likely start to clear out. As far as temperatures over the next couple of hours, will continue to be pretty mild. We're only going down to the upper 50s tonight. All right, here's a look right now at your Universal Windows Direct 7-day forecast. High for tomorrow of 76 degrees. We do have a chance at potentially breaking another record tomorrow, and then, as you can see right there, by Friday, we are down into the low to mid 50s, which, Romney, that's where we should be right around this time of year.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jason. Coming up next, the Celebrity Voice giving new life to a University of Akron grad's Academy Award-winning work.
Plus, what happens in Vegas does not always stay in Vegas. What happened out west this weekend that could change how we get around forever. It looks like the Jetsons has finally arrived. The audiobook for Hair Love has found its voice. One actor is thrilled to be getting fired, and the quiz show world mourns the loss of a legend. Kiara Cotton has all the details in today's Pop Break.
On Sunday, the world lost longtime Jeopardy host Alex Trebek after a battle with pancreatic cancer. As many continue to mourn, the hosts of Wheel of Fortune, Pat Sajak and Vanna White, are reflecting on their time with him. In a tweet, Sajak described their friendship saying, "Alex Trebek's courage, grace, and strength inspired millions, and all those of us who knew him." He went on to say, "I was honored to be a friend and a part of his professional family for all of these years." And in a post on Instagram, White said, I will always be in awe of the way he faced the battle he fought so valiantly, and I am devastated to lose my longtime friend. Alex Trebek was 80 years old. Switching gears now to politics, over the weekend, Joe Biden was projected to win the 2020 presidential election, defeating President Donald Trump. But Alec Baldwin, who plays the president on Saturday Night Live, isn't shedding any tears over the loss or the potential end to his run on the show. On Sunday, he took to Twitter expressing his excitement, saying, "I don't believe I've ever been this overjoyed to lose a job before." He went on to say, "It will be comforting when we have a president who doesn't tweet twice as much as I do." While President Trump will remain in office through January, it is unknown how many more times fans will see him portrayed by Baldwin. Move over Beyonce and Jay-Z, Blue Ivy Carter has arrived. The oldest daughter of the two megastars is adding narrator to her resume, lending her voice to the audiobook for University of Akron grad Matthew A. Cherry's Hair Love. Hair Love tells the story of a black father struggling to style his daughter's hair in the absence of her mom. What were you doing at 8 years old? I certainly wasn't narrating an Oscar winner's book, that's for sure. But by the looks of it, Blue Ivy will be booked and busy just like her parents, and quite frankly, we love to see it. Back to you guys.
Well, if you've got parents who are Beyonce and Jay-Z, you got to start pretty young to start your own legacy to try to surpass theirs one day.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice head start with parents like that.
Absolutely. And if you haven't read Hair Love, I urge you to see the quick film. I think it's 7 minutes long online. Awesome story. I identify because clearly hair is a big deal to me.
It's terrific.
All right, our Worth the Watch today is pretty cool. So out in Nevada this weekend, Virgin tested out its Hyperloop pod with people inside for the first time. It uses electric propulsion and magnetic levitation to push a pod up to, get this, 670 miles an hour in a low pressure tube. Now, we've done stories about plans for a Cleveland to Chicago 30-minute Hyperloop before. Well, in July, the federal government gave guidance, which is an early pathway to regulation and eventually deploying this kind of technology. Jay, I have to ask, if that came to life, would you take it?
Listen, I wanted to be one of the first to actually test it out. I would have easily volunteered to go to Vegas for this. I'm a huge travel geek. I've been following this closely. Think about it, 1825-ish rail travel. Late 1890s automobile. Right. 1909, we had air travel. It's been a century since we've had a major development.
It's time.
This is it. The Jetsons are here.
They are.
I love it.
I'm ready for it.
All right, in 2.5 months, President Trump will leave the White House. President-elect Joe Biden will move in. Biden's transition team taking shape today.
Plus, why the secret to weight loss may be written right there on the package of food. But there's a catch. Why you want to focus on the labels on the back and not the front.
And here's a weight loss tip that isn't a secret. Pretty simple. Don't eat pizza. But if you're not trying to lose those extra COVID pounds, we have all the details on Cleveland's Big Pizza Week. You don't want to miss this.
Yeah. I don't think you had me quite in focus there. Okay, thank you.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
You're looking at live pictures of the White House at 5:30 as our attention turns to the developing story out of Washington. Vice President Biden has been declared president-elect. President Trump, though, vowing to fight on. Thank you so much for staying with us for the second half of What's New. With Romney Smith, I'm Jay Crawford. We were all waiting for either Joe Biden or Donald Trump to pass that critical number of 270 electoral votes. And finally, 4 days, Romney, after the election, that finally happened on Saturday.
It did. It happened right after we went off the newscast on Saturday, and we all kind of got on email and were tweeting and everything like that. But you know what? I think everyone was just glad that we had an answer, finally. And now that we have an answer, the story turns to the transition, which is the big topic of conversation for a lot of people today. So President-elect Joe Biden officially launching his transition today with the primary focus on fighting the pandemic.
The incoming administration is moving forward without help from the White House as President Trump is vowing to challenge election results in several states. Alice Barr, live from Washington tonight with the story. Alice, good evening to you.
Good evening, Jay and Romney. Yeah, President Trump and his supporters are continuing to question the outcome of this election. They are preparing for battle through a series of legal challenges while the president-elect's team is moving forward with the transition.
Good afternoon, everyone.
In his first working day as president-elect, Joe Biden making his top priority clear.
It starts with doing everything possible to get the COVID-19 under control.
Biden meeting today with his new pandemic advisory team, celebrating promising news of an effective vaccine in the pipeline, and until it's ready, making a bipartisan plea for masks.
It doesn't matter your party, your point of view. We could save tens of thousands of lives if everyone would just wear a mask.
The Biden team moving forward with the transition, even as President Trump contests the outcome, claiming fraud without offering evidence. The Trump campaign pushing ahead with legal challenges and rebuffing calls to concede.
That word's not even in our vocabulary right now.
The Trump appointee heading the General Services Administration, so far refusing to authorize the resources to help the Biden team ramp up its transition work. And while the president's loyalists are standing by him.
Do not concede, Mr. President. Fight hard.
Some establishment Republicans are congratulating the new president-elect, including former President George W. Bush and Senator Mitt Romney. As the jockeying continues, today Vice President Mike Pence leading the Trump administration's first COVID task force meeting in 3 weeks. That as news breaks of more COVID infections at the White House. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson testing positive, the first known case to hit the president's cabinet.
And while President-elect Biden is laying out his goals for his first 100 days in office, including rejoining the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Agreement, President Trump is considering holding campaign-style rallies in states where he is suing or calling for a recount. Jay, back to you.
Well, Alice, in the meantime, Donald Trump very busy today. We reported earlier some of the moves that he made. Any indication at all what the final 10 weeks of his presidency might look like?
Yeah, we had that news today that he fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper. This is something NBC News had been reporting on, that Esper actually had prepared a letter of resignation last week. And we do know that the two had been butting heads for a little while, had openly disagreed on a few things. So it's not totally clear what happened behind the scenes there. But House Speaker Nancy Pelosi came out today and said that she thought that was a sign that the president was trying to sow seeds of chaos in his final days in the White House. The Trump administration just, considering this, they're sort of framing it as just matter of fact order of business, and that they wanted to get this other appointee in there. So, we've got some time left to go when the president will still be here inside the White House. And for the short term, he's going to be focused on still battling these legal challenges. But he is still in the White House, and it's not totally clear how he will spend this time.
All right. Alice Barr, live from Washington tonight. Alice, thanks.
Well, here's a far less political story to come from all this election news. It's about dogs. So when Joe Biden takes the oath of office in January, the Biden's dog, Major, will make history. He will actually become the first rescue dog to live in the White House. The Bidens adopted the German Shepherd from the Delaware Humane Association back in 2018. They also have another German Shepherd named Champ. Think about that. There's been dogs in the White House before. We've seen them. We've loved them. And usually the sales in that breed goes up. And so now I wonder if more people will want to adopt a dog.
Well, certainly that would be the hope. I mean, obviously, I've had all variations of dogs, and I can honestly say that rescues have made some of the best pets. It's almost like they know that they're being given an opportunity.
Second chance.
And they're so grateful for it. And maybe it's me assigning human emotion to a dog that actually has no idea, but it's what I'd like to think. And hopefully we'll see more and more adoptions from agencies that need
Absolutely.
pets.
And that's a great breed. I grew up with German Shepherds, so I'm a little biased, but wonderful breed of dog. So I look forward. And by the way, they have their own Twitter account. I follow it. You should too. Lots of good tweets coming from there.
All right, wonderful. Well, right now it is 6 minutes. Right now, past the bottom of the hour. Time to get another check of the headlines. We welcome our friend Russ Mitchell back for the top headlines here at the bottom of the hour. Hey, Russ.
Hey, Jay. Hello again to you, and hello again to you at home. The U.S. now the first nation in the world to reach 10 million COVID-19 cases. It took 10 days to go from 9 million to 10 million, which is the shortest period between 1 million cases. When the virus first started, it took 97 days to reach our first billion cases. Texas, California, and Florida top the list of states with the most number since the pandemic began. The FTC reached a settlement with Zoom, that video service that all of us are using these days. The FTC says Zoom misled users by touting a level of security it did not actually offer. As part of the agreement, Zoom has agreed to establish and implement a comprehensive security program. And General Motors recalled more than 217,000 cars and SUVs in the U.S. and Canada to fix a leak that leads to cars stopping or even catching fire. Those recalled vehicles include several models ranging from 2018 to 2020 in Chevy, GMC, and Buick vehicles. We have all the models listed at WKYC.com. And Jay, we'll see you back here at 6 o'clock.
We will. Russ, nothing personal against Zoom. They definitely fill the void. I'm looking forward to a day when I have more in-person meetings than Zoom meetings.
You and me both, my friend. Definitely.
I miss those times. Yeah. All right, Russ, thanks. We'll see you in a little while. Next on What's New, a celebration we can all get behind. We need that, don't we? We're going to tell you how to take advantage of the deliciousness that is Cleveland Pizza Week. Look at that.
And later, finding the new you. How to become a champ at checking the nutrition labels to stick to your health goals if you don't want to dig out on pizza. Jason will tell us all about that. But before he breaks down the labels, he's breaking down the weather.
Oof. Hey there, Romney. Well, we're taking a live look over downtown Cleveland via our CSU cam, and you'll notice it is a beautiful end to an absolutely gorgeous day. So how long is this nice weather going to last? Well, I got some bad news for you. I'll explain why right after this.
Yes, I do. Okay. Okay.
Welcome back. It was absolutely gorgeous today. We broke a record high, and if you were just watching, you saw a beautiful sunset. Jason, you have the best view right now.
Yeah, you know what? I certainly do. And, you know, we were in downtown Cleveland, and I even dressed up for the occasion.
You did?
Because I knew I was going to be doing a live shot. Yeah, I matched there. So there you go. So you talked about that record. It was a 45-year-old record. And at 2 o'clock, we shattered it when it was 76 degrees. So let me show you current temperatures around Northeast Ohio right now. Here in downtown Cleveland, we are at 74 degrees, 67 over in Worcester, and 70 degrees over in Norwalk right now. And as far as one of the biggest things that I've been getting in terms of social media messages is, why is it so warm? Well, it's basically three reasons. We have a wind out of the south. We also have high pressure that has been in control. That's been blocking any sort of cloud cover from forming. And because of where we are in relation to that high pressure, right on the back edge, well, that's pushing up that southerly air. The other reason why has been the jet stream. The jet stream, as you know, that is the dividing line between very cold Canadian air and very warm southerly air. So what's going to basically be happening over the next couple of days is we are going to end up seeing that jet stream shift eastward, and that is going to allow some cold air to push across our region. So we are going to be returning back to normal, which around this time of year, that is right in the low to about middle 50s. Now, one of the other things that we are keeping our eyes on is what's happening in the tropics. Tropical storm Ada right now, it basically ended up clipping parts of southern Florida, and right now it's in the Gulf of Mexico, and it pretty much continues to move northward. What happens after that? Well, we're still trying to figure that out, because the models right now are not in unison as far as if it'll make a secondary landfall. National Design Mod hour-by-hour forecast. So tomorrow it's going to be a lovely day. We're going to see temperatures back into the 70s. We do have a chance at potentially breaking another record, and I do think we're going to start out with some sunshine, but towards the end of the day, we're going to start to see more cloud cover as well. And then I think overnight into Wednesday, that is when we are going to see some rain showers. Some of you could be waking up to some rain showers on Wednesday morning. However, I think by the afternoon time, we should start to see a mix of sun and clouds. Over the next couple of hours, we're going to dip down to the 60s, and I think overnight, some of you could even see the upper 50s. Universal Windows Direct 7-day forecast. So tomorrow, we'll reach a high near 76 degrees, and then by Friday, well, that's when things pretty much turn back to normal. And yes, guys, that's when we start to go back down into the mid-50s. So if you haven't had a chance, folks, to get outside and enjoy the weather, well, you have one more day to do that.
Indeed. Tomorrow seems like the perfect day to get outside. Thanks, Jason.
Right now, it is time to see what's clicking in Cleveland, and for that, we bring in our digital anchor, Stephanie Haney. Stephanie, a very good Monday evening to you.
Very good Monday to you too, Jay. You know, everybody's counting down to those holidays. So first up, we're starting with newly released tips for a safe Thanksgiving from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. Now, it's no surprise that the first and foremost thing they're mentioning is really consider postponing or canceling any kind of gathering. But for those who will get together, the CDC recommends staying outside and wearing masks the entire time while you keep physical distance. Now, the CDC also recommends asking anyone from outside of your household to quarantine for 14 days before coming over and to avoid serving family-style food so people aren't touching the same utensils. That's just a few there. There are many more on WKYC.com. Now, looking ahead, not quite so far ahead, the Cleveland Browns expect to have Nick Chubb back on the field on Sunday. The star running back is off the injured reserve list after sitting out the past 4 games. Remember, he hurt his MCL in Week 4 against the Dallas Cowboys, but he avoided surgery. He's healed up now, and we'll see him back in action on Sunday against the Houston Texans. Welcome back, Nick Chubb, and welcome back to my fantasy football team roster. Very happy about that. Now, this one is for the foodies in town. It is Cleveland Pizza Week, and it's also Cleveland Restaurant Week to go. Here's the details you need to know. You can get $8 pizza pies from some of the best places in town now through Sunday, November 15th. Some of those places include Master Pizza, Dante's Inferno, Salted Dough, just to name a few. And It's also Restaurant Week to go. Now that goes on for a little bit longer. That goes through Friday, November 20th, Jay. It's pretty much always Restaurant Week to go for me, so I'm pretty excited for these deals, especially since March. We've got all that info on the website.
Well, I feel you, Stephanie. For me, it's pretty much every week is Pizza Week. So I'll celebrate it, no problem. But I'll also celebrate pizza next week and the week after. That's just how I roll. Stephanie, great to see you on this Monday. We'll see you tomorrow. Still ahead on what's new, how one local woman's creativity is blowing minds and leaves. You've got to see this.
But first, Jason is back with some grocery store hacks to keep your health goals intact. That's next.
And right now, it's time for our pop quiz question. Which football team was originally called the New York Titans? Was it the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, or the New York Jets? Think about it. The answer on the other side of the break. All right, Ron, you want to guess? Was it the Titans, the Giants, or the Jets? The original Titans.
It's way before my NFL history knowledge predates, so I'm going to guess the Giants.
It actually was the Jets, Jets, which happened to play the Patriots tonight on Monday Night Football. Yeah, that buzzer's a little harsh.
It's okay.
It's a little harsh, but there you go.
Now
it was
I know.
The New York Titans before
I don't
the New York
remember
Jets.
the Jets ever being called anything different, but
you know what? I
stand
didn't
corrected.
Either. You might want to tell Jason, your husband, that was before I was born.
Okay, I will.
Just let him know. All right. You've probably heard the old adage, you are what you eat. But sometimes figuring out exactly what you're eating, Romney, that can be a challenge.
Absolutely. So in our new series, The New You, Jason Fraser gets a lesson on what's really in some of our favorite foods and what you should be looking for before you head to the grocery store.
They're on the back of every single food product you buy, but the nutritional labels can sometimes be confusing.
Food labels are so confusing to read because the label is actually not the first thing we see. What we first see is the front of package.
Kristen Kirkpatrick, the lead dietitian at the Cleveland Clinic Wellness Center, says, don't be fooled by what the front label says.
And so there actually have been multiple studies that show that people are often swayed by the front of package claims. The best foods in the world have no front of package claims. You would never go to a grocery store and find an apple with 1 million claims on it because we know an apple is good for us, right? So the more claims, the more suspicious maybe you want to be.
The confusion about what's inside some of our favorite foods is what recently prompted the Food and Drug Administration to change the design and information listed on the nutritional labels.
The new label will show here's how many sugars and here's how many added sugar. I think that's an important note because in the past, let's say you had a fruit-flavored yogurt. The consumer had no clue how much of that sugar was coming naturally in from lactose and how much was coming in from added sugar from the fruit flavoring.
As you consider your next trip to the grocery store, pay attention to the ingredients.
Less ingredients is always best. This is a brown rice mix, and it's got probably about 25 ingredients in it, right? And it's a brown rice mix, so shouldn't there just be brown rice?
The order of the ingredient also tells you what's primarily in your food. For example, if oil is listed first on the nutritional label, that means it is the primary ingredient.
Things that come later in the ingredient list are often things that you're going to see just trace amounts of.
Also, pay attention to how much sugar is in the food you're buying, because it can lead to easy weight gain. But what's more confusing for consumers is sometimes sugar isn't always called sugar.
There's probably about 20 names that can list sugar. I mean, you could find it as brown rice syrup.
One of the staples in most homes is bread, but all bread isn't equal.
100% whole grain or 100% whole wheat. You want to stay away from multigrain or wheat bread. Those are not whole grain products.
And if you're having trouble figuring out which bread is best for you, Kirkpatrick says look at how much fiber is in the bread.
The fiber will really kind of tell the story. If you have less than 1 gram or 1 gram, most likely that's not a whole grain product. It's stripped of fiber in some facet.
Now, Kirkpatrick also says that the food labels have been changed by the government to better reflect how we actually eat the food. So, for example, if you take a pint of ice cream, the serving size used to be 4, and let's be honest, none of us ever actually ate ice cream over 4 different periods of time. Well, the government now says that the new serving size for ice cream, for that pint of ice cream, is just 2. Romney and Jay?
I prefer to eat the whole pint still, because that's my serving size.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. And sometimes I have to be like, come on, let's stop. Let's
He's
take
more
it down.
committed to eating healthy than I am. I'm the one constantly trying to cheat.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? I still have to say, though, you're a good wife. You've been supporting me. And, you know, recently we went to the grocery store, and it was very funny because I went to buy the more healthy stuff, and she was like, I'm not ready yet.
Jay. I told him earlier, I was like, I'm struggling.
Romney said the exact same thing early, Jason. Listen, fight the good fight. I'm in your corner. I know you can do this. I'm behind you 1,000%.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you, and thank you, Jay. And you know what, Jay? You're officially invited over.
Beautiful. I'll be there for my 1/4 of the pint of ice cream.
There you go. But that's not it.
Ice cream.
We're not done with Jason right now. So tell us what's on tap for next week in the series.
So speaking of, you know, swapping out things in your kitchen for healthier things, we actually headed to the Cleveland Clinic Wellness Center. We spoke to one of their chefs there, and he taught me how to make some very interesting, as well as even quick and cheap swaps to make those dinner meals healthier. So I'll have that coming up on What's New at 5 next Monday.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
I feel like he's settling in for a new lifestyle, Romney. I believe he's on the way. The video that will blow you away. It's next. One local woman's ingenuity just in time for fall.
And coming up at 6 on What Matters Most, I'll take you inside a learning pod to see why Cuyahoga County is investing $500,000 into them.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Laura Queso's mic. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, I got you. You got me okay? Okay, cool. Should be good to go.
It was okay. Our show is something good takes us to Portage County. This is video from a resident in Manaway. Her name is Kayla, and look at this, Romney. You know, they say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
She hooked up a leaf blower to her mobile wheelchair, and now she has what might be the first mobilized leaf blower. And I absolutely love it.
You got a whole business right there. I like that.
That's the easy way to do it. Thank you so much for watching What's New. We're back tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and as always, you have an invitation.